Bond's wardrobe was as important as his Aston Martin and the gadgets that he used. It said so much about the character, particularly the first thing we ever see him in, that evening suit. He's in a casino, there was no strict dress code, he could have worn a lounge suit, but that evening suit said something about him. When a man is dressed in a suit that's so beautifully cut and made, it gives him a great deal of confidence, and that's something that is exuded by James Bond himself. As part of the Golden Anniversary celebrations, we're remaking two classic Bond suits. The first is the evening suit that he wore in Dr. No. It's a midnight blue mohair barathier with a silk shawl collar and matching turnback cuffs. The absolute classic piece. And the other is everybody's favourite, the three-piece Prince of Wales check suit that he wears in Goldfinger. Anthony Sinclair's a real unsung British hero. He became known for making all of Sean Connery's suits for all of his appearances as James Bond. From 1962, Dr. No, through to Diamonds Are Forever in 1971. Anthony Sinclair retired in the 1980s and Richard Payne, his apprentice, took over the business. And I got to know Richard Payne around about 2002. I knew him as a great tailor, great craftsman, but I knew nothing of his connection with Anthony Sinclair or this great heritage and fantastic legacy.
I do enjoy creating patterns, which is basically what I got my diploma for. Anthony in those days knew he could trust me, and that's how we developed a good friendship.
Richard's, in my opinion, the best cutter alive, and he was trained by the best tailors of the day. Not only Anthony Sinclair, he also worked for Cyril Castle, who had made Roger Moore's suits, first of all for the Saint and then the Persuaders, and of course for his early role as James Bond.
I can cut a variety of styles and make sure the historic value in the garment is very visible.
In 2010, 2011, Richard decided to make a comeback, and I thought we've really got to relaunch this business, particularly with the 50th anniversary of the Bond franchise coming up in 2012. So I needed somehow to get my hands on an original piece of Connery's wardrobe from those early films. I did know of the existence of one of the original suits. In 2011, a gentleman called me to say that he had one of Connery's original Bond suits. His father had actually worked at Pinewood Studios in the 1960s, and after filming he'd gone to the wardrobe department and paid them a few shillings for this suit. And this was not as in some kind of investment. He wanted a suit that he could wear down to the pub at the weekends. And this gentleman had actually found his father's suit in the back of his mother's wardrobe.
It's a classic, yes, it is a very good job. You can see by the handwork, you know, just even on the trousers, the stitching on the fob pocket, you know, the workmanship was very, very good. You know, typical Anthony Sinclair style. He gave Sean a little bit of movement, which was his tradition. Even with the shooter in the pocket, where virtually with the shoulder holster, it didn't appear to make a mark on the suit.
He's making the pattern from scratch, using his wooden rule and square, and his pencil and paper, and that's all he needs to actually produce the pattern, and using his skills and knowledge as a cutter to reproduce these fantastic garments.
If we didn't have the suit without measures, it wouldn't have been viable.
So once the cutters used his great skills to actually cut the pattern and cut the cloth. It's handed to the tailors who start to produce the individual garments, and they use their skills, which have not changed for over 200 years. They're still made exactly the same way, almost entirely by hand. It's a remarkable craft.
In those days, to find a job when you are starting as a self-employee, which I was a self-employee and I started on my own, and you go around in the shops and introduce yourself. I'm a tailor and I'm looking for work. That's how I get to know Sinclair. He was very fussy person about his work. And if he wasn't something he didn't like, he let you know straight away.
He was very oriented with the film business. I believe it was the 007 movies that must have put Anthony Sinclair on the map.
It's 50 years since that first film, so the characters have changed, the wardrobe's changed, but the way we put these suits together has not changed at all from the way they were made for Sean Connery 50 years ago. It's exactly the same process. It's nothing like a ready-made suit. It's something that is handcrafted specifically for an individual. The garment is built around the customer. The customer is the foundation for this.
You can only say this, I suppose, I'm only as good as my last job. You know, and it's very nice to be part of something that is going to be seen.
We've got a very tough guy playing the role of James Bond at the moment, and his suits very much resemble those that were made 50 years ago.